My husband had all but abandoned his responsibilities, leaving me to shoulder the overwhelming burden of caring for his ailing father and managing every household chore. Each night, he stayed out until the early hours, barely contributing enough for our living expenses. Though I cherished my career as a nurse, I had resigned from my job to dedicate myself entirely to his father's care. Now, here he was again, asking me for more money. "We can't make ends meet on this amount," I told him. "It's your responsibility to manage our finances within the budget, but there's a limit. How can you expect more from me when you contribute nothing and disregard everything I'm doing?" Aloof and condescending, he shot back, "All you do is drain our finances without contributing. You're like a parasite." "How dare you say that?" I retorted. "If I left, you wouldn't last a day. Maybe you should be trying to keep me instead of threatening me." In response, he waved a set of divorce papers in my face, arrogantly declaring he was ready to end our marriage at any time. Tossing the papers at me, he stormed out of the room. I gathered them from the floor, spreading them out before me. A wry smile crossed my face when I read the title, "Petition for Divorce." If he thought I'd be devastated, he was mistaken. I was already prepared, having imagined a life beyond his shadow long ago. With a mix of pity and determination, I picked up the phone and dialed my lawyer. "My name is Kayla. I was once a nurse at a private hospital, a challenging job with long hours, but it was my calling. Caring for others brought me deep fulfillment. Now, it was time to reclaim the life I had put on hold. At first, my marriage to Vincent was smooth, despite our busy schedules keeping us apart. But things changed drastically when his father, his only living family member, suffered a severe health crisis. Unable to live alone, he needed constant care. Vincent, concerned for his father, asked if I could step in, promising to make up for my lost income by working harder and taking on more responsibilities at home. Reluctant yet understanding, I agreed. I'd always had a good relationship with my father-in-law, a kind and generous man. We moved in with him, and at first, Vincent seemed committed to helping out. We tightened our finances, but we managed. Yet as the months went on, Vincent's promises faded, and he gradually withdrew. He reduced his financial support, became increasingly absent, and left me alone to juggle the household and caregiving duties. With my job gone, our income was halved, and the financial strain grew with every passing day. I found myself balancing the demands of caring for my father-in-law with searching for affordable groceries, often driving long distances just to save a few dollars. Meals became simpler, especially when Vincent wasn't around. Our living arrangement, which once felt manageable, now seemed increasingly unsustainable. Vincent had become entirely detached, spending his earnings freely and leaving all our challenges on my shoulders. Life grew incredibly difficult as I stretched every dollar to its limit. New clothes, trips to the hairdresser, simple luxuries were no longer an option. When the financial strain became unbearable, I approached Vincent for help. "About this month's expenses," I started. "I already gave you the money," he interrupted sharply. "Yes, but it's less than last month," I explained. "I can't make ends meet with this." "Are you kidding me? Managing the budget is your job," he snapped. "But the budget is too tight. Ever since I quit my job, it's been a constant struggle," I pleaded. "Please, we need more for the household." He scoffed. "It's my hard-earned money. I'll spend it how I want. Just because you were a nurse, you think you're important. Now you're not contributing financially at all. You're just a parasite living off my earnings. So keep quiet and do as I say." His harsh words stung, and his attitude only grew colder each time I tried to bring up our finances. With no other option, I began dipping into my savings for my nursing days. Each month became a battle as I juggled our worsening financial situation and endured Vincent's verbal abuse. Yet in all this hardship, my father-in-law was a bright spot. Despite his own struggles, he was endlessly grateful for even the smallest gestures of care. Aware of our financial strain, he even offered his pension to help. He was a kind soul and became my one source of emotional support. His gratitude and gentle presence gave me the strength to keep going, holding on to his warmth and appreciation when everything felt bleak. But my moments of peace were tragically short-lived. Nearly 3 years into caring for him, my father-in-law passed away unexpectedly. That day marked the end of one chapter and the beginning of a profound change in my life. I drove a bit further than usual to the supermarket to take advantage of a special sale. Though I felt uneasy about leaving him alone, he reassured me with a gentle smile and encouraged me not to worry. His warmth and calm words eased my mind. and I left, feeling peaceful, believing he was all right. Tragically, while I was away, he collapsed, and he never recovered. The guilt of not being there haunted me. I replayed that decision to leave him alone over and over, and the tears wouldn't stop. Despite the overwhelming grief, I knew I couldn't live in regret forever. I needed to focus on arranging his funeral. Vincent assumed the role of chief mourner but was more concerned with appearances than actual responsibilities, leaving most of the preparations to me. Given the deep support my father-in-law had offered me, I preferred handling the arrangements myself rather than risk Vincent's neglect. Throwing myself into the funeral planning became a temporary escape from the sorrow. The process was grueling, leaving me feeling drained, but it helped pull me out of my depression, if only for moments. While Vincent barked orders one minute and watched TV the next, I focused on honoring my father-in-law's memory. At the funeral, many attendees extended their condolences to Vincent, unaware of the reality behind our struggles. They assumed he had been the primary caregiver, saying things like, "It must have been hard to prepare everything so quickly, and you took really good care of him. He was lucky to have such a devoted son." Their well-meaning words stung. Knowing the truth, I kept my composure, responding gracefully despite feeling exhausted. "It wasn't hard at all," I would reply, masking the truth. "He was like a father to me too, so I did my best for him." I held on to the belief that my care had brought him some comfort in his final years, hoping he'd found peace. Vincent mingled with the guests, flashing a practiced smile and exchanging pleasantries. His friendly facade grated on me, as I knew he had done nothing to prepare for the funeral or to care for his father in his last days. Beneath his superficial charm, the truth remained hidden, leaving me to carry the weight of both sorrow and responsibility alone. I vividly recalled the sadness in my father-in-law's eyes on the nights Vincent would come home late, never bothering to speak a word to him. Now that he was gone, Vincent's pretense of being a devoted son was almost unbearable. My disgust for him grew with each passing day, and it was difficult to shake off, even after the funeral. With my father-in-law no longer here, the one thing that had kept me tolerating our strained marriage was gone. The thought of divorce increasingly crept into my mind, but I was torn. I felt both repelled by him and uncertain about making such a huge decision. I kept procrastinating, held back by the remnants of a life that once held meaning. The routine was all that kept me going. But then, one unexpected incident gave me clarity. One evening, I went to the local supermarket, only to find they were out of a seasoning I needed. Deciding to try a store a bit farther away, I made my purchase and headed outside. That's when I saw Vincent, who was supposed to be at work. Curious and cautious, I kept my distance, watching him. He seemed nervous, glancing around before entering a building with a sign for a consumer finance company hanging above the door, one I recognized but never expected to be involved with us. A chill ran through me, as if I had been plunged into icy water. My whole body reacted, but my mind remained eerily calm, piecing everything together. It dawned on me that not only was Vincent failing to provide enough for our household, but his actions were now leading him into serious financial trouble, without my knowledge. The discovery crystallized everything, the reality of our situation, and the way our lives and values had drifted apart. I couldn't ignore it any longer. Vincent had been borrowing money behind my back. The thought of how deep and long-standing his debts were made my stomach turn. That was the moment the decision was made. I needed a divorce. I could no longer picture a future with someone who kept such major financial secrets from me. My feelings for him evaporated completely. That evening, I waited for him in the living room, the decision weighing heavily on me but clear in my mind. When he finally walked through the door, I didn't hesitate. "Vincent, you're back late." He looked surprised. "Yikes, what are you doing up so early? What's wrong? Can I stay awake?" I asked flatly. "Nothing's wrong. I just wanted to go to bed," I replied, keeping my tone even. "Of course you do. You've been out until now, after all." He dismissed my concerns. "If you're going to be sarcastic, save it. I'm exhausted from working, unlike you," he snapped. "Right? I'm sorry," I said, my words hollow as the reality of our situation settled in. I paused for a moment to gather my thoughts before speaking. "Actually, I have something important to tell you. Let's get a divorce." Vincent looked at me, stunned. "Ha! What are you saying all of a sudden?" "I've been thinking about it for a while now," I continued calmly. "You've been living off me, and yet you ask how I'll survive after the divorce. You hardly provide enough for me to live on as it is. Besides, as a nurse, I managed before, and I can manage again. If money is such an issue, then yes, I think a divorce is the best step." He stood frozen, speechless, before locking himself in the bedroom. The next day, true to his word, albeit reluctantly, he took a day off and accompanied me to our lawyer. He signed the divorce petition with a heavy thud on the lawyer's desk. Our separation turned out to be simpler than I had expected. Throughout it all, Vincent kept muttering about regret, but I chose to ignore him. Afterward, I decided to return to my parents' home temporarily. When I explained the situation to them, they offered their full support, encouraging me to move forward. Grateful for their backing, I began packing up my belongings, ready to start anew, free from the weight of a marriage that had become untenable. While sorting through my things, I decided to clean my father-in-law's room one last time. As I went through his chest of drawers, I stumbled upon his will. Curious but composed, I informed Vincent, who, to my surprise, showed an unexpected burst of excitement. He tore open the envelope and eagerly read the contents, his eyes wide. But his enthusiasm quickly shifted to dismay as he read aloud, mumbling about some mistake in the document. From what I could gather, the will left several stocks, which his father had owned to me. Additionally, it included a heartfelt letter expressing gratitude towards me. Vincent, in disbelief, protested, "No, this can't be true. I'm the only son. Normally, I inherit everything, don't I?" "That may be so, but the will clearly states otherwise," I replied calmly. "This is ridiculous. This can't be valid," he sputtered, but the signature on the document was unmistakable. The shock was too much for him. He fainted and collapsed on the floor. I quickly called an ambulance, but as I watched the paramedics take him away, I realized I was already detached from his life. There seemed no reason to delay my departure any longer, so I finished packing and left for my parents' home. Once settled, I reached out to one of Vincent's relatives, who had always been kind to me, to inform her about the divorce. She listened intently, her expression growing more pained as I recounted my story. After I finished, she embraced me warmly, but her demeanor was awkward and troubled. She then revealed, in a hushed voice, that Vincent had accumulated a substantial gambling debt long before we moved in with his father. It had started shortly after we got married. His frequent visits to consumer finance companies had even sparked rumors in our small community. Her revelations added new layers of understanding to the struggles we had faced, confirming that my decision to leave was justified. The support from Vincent's relative was comforting, reaffirming that I was not alone in recognizing the difficulties caused by his actions. It was deeply unsettling to realize that while I had been oblivious, others in our community were well aware of Vincent's financial troubles, and the rumors had been rampant. Before moving in with my father-in-law, my life had been consumed by my job. Afterward, my focus shifted entirely to caregiving, leaving no room for social interactions where such information might have come to light. Meanwhile, Vincent had been misleading everyone, confidently claiming that he would swiftly clear his debts with the inheritance he was certain to receive. It seemed everyone in our circle knew about it, except me. The rumors eventually reached his father, prompting him to draft a will that intentionally excluded Vincent, likely to correct his son's misguided expectations and irresponsible behavior. Vincent, who had recklessly accumulated debts across various quarters, was banking entirely on an inheritance that never materialized. When he realized he would receive nothing, the shock was too much for him, and he fainted. After a brief hospital stay, Vincent was discharged and faced the grim reality of managing his debts alone, scraping by day to day. As for me, I returned to my parents' home, took some time to gather my thoughts and heal, and eventually returned to my nursing career. Being back at work, immersed in a profession I love, has been rejuvenating. For now, I have no interest in thinking about marriage again. My priority is my career, dedicating myself to a job that brings fulfillment and stability. The return to nursing not only marks a return to normalcy but also a step toward rebuilding my independence and focusing on my well-being.